Alright, so I'm going to make another video for YouTube, and this one is just an extension on my last one with the newspaper pots. Now for this one, what I've done is I've cut it into small sheets, so it's pretty small, and this is going to be fairly thin. And what I did is I've had this pot maker for probably about, I don't know, 15-20 years, and you just wrap the newspaper around it. Okay. And then starting with the side where the flap is, you tuck it in. And then it has this base with the little raised thing on it. And you just press it down in there. Press it hard to flatten it out. And then you just pull it off. And you can see here I've got this little plastic tray that some lettuce came in. And if I was starting another batch, I would fill it up with these little pots and then fill them with potting soil. So if you come close, you can see I did some last week, and the pots have already started, and you can see this extra lettuce here. I've already thinned the others out, and so I got it down to where there's one in each pot. And so since it still freezes at night here, what I do is I keep them under lights. And so you can see I've got the wood that I use to build up, because you want the plants to be between 1 and 2 inches of the light. And you can see I made a mistake here, because this is basil and oregano and parsley, but what I did was I put it in too deep a container, and so I can't get the lights close enough. So these are going to be a little spindly once they get up. But you can see over here with these taller pots, these are peppers and those are tomatoes. And I'm keeping, you can see this tomato shot up a little too tall, so he's getting close to the lights there. But it's still about 2 weeks before we can set out the tomatoes and inside the mini greenhouse, which I'll show you in a minute. And then the peppers I may set out inside walls of water, or I may just wait until June to set those out. So just wanted to show you that start. And I was listening to something the other day, and Thomas Jefferson said, you know, you could go a long ways towards self-sufficiency just by sowing a thimbleful of lettuce seeds every few weeks or every couple of weeks. And this is some lettuce that started growing in my garden, and I just harvested the seed. It's a volunteer lettuce. It's a deer tongue type lettuce, which I think tastes very good. And you can see off just a few plants I got, you know, what, a quarter of a pill bottle full. That's probably, you know, thousands of lettuce seeds. So I'll put these up under the lights, and then we'll turn off the camera and we'll go out in the garden and continue. Okay, so here we have, I'm probably standing in the light, but here we have, this is lettuce that I started about 6 weeks ago, and I put it in this cold frame, and you can see it's growing great. And the reason the two plants on the right don't have as many leaves is because I used some lettuce for a sandwich today. And so I've got this lettuce growing, you know, in this cold frame before you can grow it outside, because you can't grow it uncovered. And on my prior video, when I planted those leeks in the pot, newspaper pot, these are the leeks. I took the pots and split them apart. You can see the remnants of the pots still here, and I put them out. And so far, most of them are doing okay. I lost a few in the process. I think the ground was just too dry back in the corner. I didn't get it wet enough. But most of them are doing pretty well. And you can see back in that corner, in the right corner there, is a strawberry plant I stuck in there just to see how it would do. And you can see the blossom on it. But if you look close, you can see that the ground on this side is higher than that side. And this is mostly compost in here. But what happened was I left the glass open, and the wind took off about 1 inch of the compost and blew it away during the winter. Okay, so, and you can see this is my, I forget what this is called, garden weasel, no. Anyway, I'm using it to prop up the top. And but what I do is I made a cold frame. It's just some 2x6s on the bottom that were left over from a project. I've got some plywood on the sides, and then a 2x4 frame. And then this is just an old window that was left over from something we were doing. And I keep it like about right there with that crack open, because that allows it to stay warm enough even when it freezes, but it also keeps it from getting too hot during the day. So, and that's just with a spare window. So, alright, so some updates. The garlic here, show the garlic. The garlic is getting up and doing good. You saw that in a prior video. Now we'll come over here, and what I did was I've grown broccoli in pots, and I put it out in the garden, and it's under these white plastic jugs, and it'll grow in there, and they'll kind of keep it as a keep it from freezing. Oh. The plants, I grew them in the garage. I just took them out from under the lights today so I could put that lettuce back in there and put them in the garden. And I've got them mulched with alfalfa hay and straw, and then I use these sticks to try and keep things in place. So, and then they'll grow inside there, and then within about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, they'll start to poke out the top of the jugs, and that's when I know it's time to pull the jugs off, and they'll start growing on their own. So you can see they're pretty well mulched there. The mulch keeps the jugs from flying away. So let's see, let's go over this way. And this is my mini greenhouse. This is my mini greenhouse from this is a John Jevons project modified. I don't have the lid on it right now, but this is where my tomatoes will go in about 2 weeks because it'll still be too cold, but I have a plexiglass lid to put on it to keep the tomatoes from freezing. Now these pots, what they're going to be is the bottom half is filled with compost, and then I think I'm going to put a layer of sand on top of the compost and then some potting soil on top of that, and then those herbs you saw will go in these pots, and then they'll go off in a part of the garden where there's no garden beds, and they'll grow over there. So, I think that's all I have. Thanks for listening.